Dinner for shoes, please.
Hello, and welcome to an episode of Dinner for Shoes. This is my friend, Clase Azul, Tequila Reposado. Clase Azul? Clase Azul? Is that like the brand? I forget if that's the actual brand. I think that's what it is. Yeah, Clase Azul. Anyway, there's a reason why this is dinner tonight. Today's episode is called The Ins and Outs of Fashion PR. And the reason why I want to talk about this topic, also sorry, the glare is weird today. It's just like the time of day I'm recording. The reason why I want to talk about this topic is because I, entered the fashion industry not really knowing, like, I knew I wanted to write, which isn't necessarily what a PR, a fashion public relations job is, right? But I learned about so many other fashion jobs in the industry once I was in the industry. And a huge part of what I do is talking to people who are in fashion PR every single day through email pitches. Maybe I have a market appointment where I'm going to look at clothes and this PR company represents the brand. And it's kind of funny because like fashion PR, these people like make the world go round. They like make fashion events happen. They like help brands get themselves out there, spread the word about new collection drops, campaigns. Like these people are the ones who are constantly in my inbox and other fashion editors' inboxes telling us what's happening with brands. Without them, we wouldn't know what to even write about. So they're an essential part of the fashion industry, and you have to have a very specific personality to succeed in fashion PR, which you will hear from my guests today about what that personality is and what it takes. Of course, there are different fashion PR brands, and there are different media relations companies. Also, since the lighting is crazy, the cats are going crazy, so you're going to see them going all over the place. And like the two that I interviewed, I actually talked to Savannah Engel and Media Muze. Savannah owns We Are Savi, and then Media Muze owns a bunch of different brands, and Savi works with a bunch of different brands. So you're going to find out more details about that. But they are different in their approach to representing brands, which is important because like that's how you would decide if you wanted to be in fashion PR, like who you would go to work for, what job you would apply to. So you're going to learn a bunch about the way they run their businesses. And for that reason, I'm not taking up a lot of your time. We're not having dinner today. We're doing cocktails. Nick, the blueberries are like, they're actually fading into the glass of this cocktail you made me, babe. Very cool. Very cool colors. I think he doesn't know if he should say anything back. You can talk back. He said, see? She sees the phone, and when the phone is making lights, she goes crazy. Like, she's gonna hurt herself one day. But I just wanted to take a picture of like this fade because it's excellent. Okay, so Nick made me a cocktail, and the reason why I did cocktails is because one, we're going out to dinner and it was convenient. It's made with Celsius. What's in here is frozen wild blueberries, which wild blueberries, Nick is laughing. Wild blueberries are better for you than regular blueberries, just so you know. So health in a glass. Tequila, Clase Azul, which Nick really wanted me to drink out of this little guy. It's a mini shot glass / like Stanley cup that my best friend Ashley gave her bridesmaids. But so I think he just put it here for effect. He also gave me this like cute little beaded coaster, which I love. Are these by Susan Allison? I don't know who these are by, but I love them. And yeah, I just love beaded coasters. And so he like set this all up for me. If you saw the picture that introduced this episode, you'll notice that I was like eating my shoe with like cocktail mixing. Like cocktail mixing appliances or whatever. These are from Kate Spade. I love them. And yeah, so we're doing cocktails because a very common way that fashion PR people meet up with editors and others in the industry who they might like be working on a project with is taking them out to drinks. There's no food here for you. Taking them out to drinks. Okay. All right, she's going to try it. Cats, when they try tequila, oh man, they hate it. But Kit is interested, of course. So taking them out to drinks, cocktails with, like you say, like I'm going out with like a PR agency, we're going to get cocktails. It's easy, it can be quick. You can meet up after work. And this was obviously way more popular before the pandemic when like our jobs totally changed. But, you know, it's still today now very common to be like asked to go out to cocktails with like fashion PR brands, and you learn so much about what they do. And I'm always really interested in it. And I ask them so many questions. They're probably like, we're asking this fashion editor if she can like feature this brand. Why won't she shut up about what we do? But it's because I am so interested in fashion PR because these people are talented. They know so much about the brands they're representing, the editors that they're pitching to. It's actually mind-boggling how big their brains must be to store all this information, and they're good at talking to people all day long, and they don't show it when they're getting tired or sick of talking to someone, which I am the first person to like make a face that's like, all right, I'm gonna leave, like, you know. So I would never be good at fashion PR. I always say what I feel. I just be like, you're boring me. But they're very good, and they're very kind people, and they're with it, and they're fast, and they get shit done. So if you are that kind of person, like fashion PR might be for you if you're watching this and you know you want to be in fashion, but you don't know what you want to do yet. Anyway, that's why we're having a cocktail for dinner, and I'm going to sip on it as I introduce you to my guests because we have 2 long interviews today. I will also say that I am wearing all black because 1, I did my spinny wheel and I did land on black. But 2, you will notice that if you go to a fashion show, if you're in fashion, if you go to a runway show or you go to an event really, a lot of the time the PR is dressed in all black. They just look sleek as fuck. Like whatever it is that they're wearing, they always look great and like fashion people, even though it's all black, you can like recognize them. But it's also to kind of like signify like that they're in PR, like they're coordinating the event. They are, you know, like almost like behind the scenes, I guess I would classify it as. So I'm wearing these really cool double waistband trousers by Storitz and a bodysuit from Aerie that is so soft, I could live in it. And I just thought it was great how these and other stories mules completely went with the shade of the double waistband here. And I love that detail of the look, so I wanted to call it out. And I will say that, like, I know I'm going to use the word chic 95 times in this episode, but to me, fashion PR people are just so fucking chic. So I wore this, like, jewelry set that I have with, it's like ridged gold hoops, and it goes with this ridged gold bangle. And, like, it just reminds me of, like I feel right now, like, I'm, like, out in a New York City, like, bar, like a hip bar, like, getting cocktails with a fashion PR person, but, like, I'm really drinking orange Celsius and tequila and frozen blueberries that are probably not frozen anymore and mush. It is what it is. So the first guest that I want to introduce you to, guests, I should say, the first interview is Media Muze. Let's talk about Media Muze. Chris founded Media Muze, and actually, I just got off of a call with her because I was recording for her podcast. We connected. We're both Tauruses. I love her. Her approach to media and fashion PR is like, I would say like what I gathered from our interview is like meeting the brand where they're at. She's extremely kind, and she works with Hannah, who has her own brand. So Media Muze is comprised of like all these different brands that Chris and Hannah represent, but they own and work with like specific brands, which you'll notice that's like a thing in fashion PR. So it's like so-and-so is responsible for these 3 brands, and then these 3 brands fall under the other person. So you're not responsible for all the brands that the company works with. It kind of like is like that. And so Hannah, I believe, actually represents Erin from Wearwell, which is a sustainable brand. Oh my God, they are the coolest brand. You're gonna love hearing about them. The way the 3 of them all work together, you'll get to hear both from the brand's perspective in this interview, what it's like to work with a PR agency, and then from the PR agency, Media Muze, about how they support Wearwell as a brand. So go ahead and listen. I think you're gonna love it.
So I had been white labeling with multiple different agencies for years, and because of that experience, I started getting referrals of my own. And so pretty soon I had like, I don't know, 4, 5, or 6 of my own referrals that I was like, it was like a should kind of like, I should probably start my own agency. It was tough though, getting past the whole like me labeling myself as a business owner or me labeling myself as an entrepreneur. Like I had never really let myself do that. I was always like the back end support. Like I'm like, Chris is like the hype girl. She's the one who will help behind the scenes. And so it was kind of a push to let myself like say that I could start my own thing. But yeah, luckily I had Hannah. So I was able to tell her all of these things, and Han is the best at, I'm like, oh my God, you guys, I probably will cry because I love Hannah so much. It feels me. But I was able to just like tell her all my feelings about it. And she was just like, you can totally do this. And like, it will be fine. And it was just very, very supportive. And luckily I had a website guy who was a good friend. And I was like, can you just build out a website that makes it feel like me? And he did a really great job doing that. Like the colors and the photos, like I didn't even really have to tell him or, lend him like advice. He was just like, what do you think? And of course, I did cry then. I was like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Like it's everything that I wanted. It's short and simple and to the point and bright and fun. And I think once that came to life, it felt real and exciting.
Yes. And the website is so awesome, by the way. I think it's like that's what drew me in immediately. I was like, I just need to find out more about the brands that you work with. It makes like it's very explore friendly, I guess is a good way to put it.
Love it.
But so Hannah, when did you get involved, I guess, on a professional level? And what are both of your backgrounds? Did you have a background in fashion? Kind of like how did that come to be?
Yeah, no background in fashion, that's for sure. Before I started doing PR, I was an executive assistant at a private equity firm. I was babysitting men basically all day, which was a vibe. And my friend had launched an agency. This is like 3 years ago now. She had started her own agency. And I made a joke about being her assistant instead of, being an assistant to them. And she was like, why don't I just teach you PR? So that's actually the agency that Kristjana and I met at. And I feel like every time I say agency, and I wonder if this was some of your holdup too, Chris, is like the word agency, I just think has kind of a negative connotation in the PR space. But yeah, so I started working with my friend for a while, and then Kristjana joined as we were starting to build our clients, and we just vibed right away. I remember our friends saying, like, you need to meet Kristjana. You're just going to fall in love with her immediately. And I feel like, yeah, the second that we joined our first Google Meet, we were like, we just become best friends. And then we were both kind of transitioning away from that agency. Chris had started doing her own thing. I was stepping away and kind of just open to receive and see what happened. I was living in San Diego at the time, and Chris and her family came to Palm Springs. I was like, we should finally, it was at our first time meeting in person after like working together for 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we finally met in person. I was like, what have you been up to? And she told me, that she was doing her own thing. And I was like, can I please help you? And yeah, the rest is history.
That is like a match made in heaven there. That's amazing. Wow. Okay. So now you've been working together. How do you kind of decide what brands you're going to work with? And Erin, maybe this is like where you come in, because I know Wearwell is one of those brands. And do you have like a rubric, for example, of which brands you're excited to partner with and which like might not be the best fit? How do you determine that?
I love that question, and Han can jump in too, but I think that since the beginning of at least our partnership, Han and me working together, it's always just been a feeling. Like when we meet with a brand, we haven't necessarily said like it needs to look like this or they have to, have certain specifications. It's almost just like, how did that feel? And we have literally hopped off, potential client calls and immediately got on the call and been like, oh my gosh, we're both so excited. Or one of us will be like, I wasn't as excited, are you? And that's kind of how like this layout of Media Muze that we have now started, was that some of the brands that I work with, I was like 100% hell yes. And Hannah, the one she works with, same. So it was like, okay, it makes more sense for you to work with certain brands and have your own thing, and also for me. So we both have that kind of umbrella under Media Muse. But yeah, it's definitely a feeling. And then of course, like, what are they doing? Like the story behind it, the impact, like, is it, does it like pull at our heartstrings? And that's subjective, right? Like it could, something that's really important to me maybe not as important to somebody else, or it's not as important to somebody else. But yeah, so I think that we just yeah, it's a feeling, I think, and it kind of always has been.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, do you ever face any challenges with like welcoming a new brand to your scope, and how do you manage those challenges? I know PR can be like, I mean, depending on the agency, which we can talk a little bit about why that's like a heavy word in PR, because this episode, I really want it to be like educational about what fashion PR and media relations is to people who like have heard of the job and maybe want to do it, but don't really know exactly the ins and outs. So what are some of the challenges that you would say you face on a daily basis? And Erin, if you want to jump in as like being the brand, that would be awesome too.
Han, do you want to go first?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, I'm typically working with small brands that are just getting started, or really wanting to go to the next level, and I want that to happen for them tomorrow, and they want that to happen for them tomorrow. And realistically, a lot of times it's like a 4 to 6 month wait until you see that first sale, especially like when you're tracking it in affiliate, which we don't need to get into all of that, but we are able to see when the sales come through, and that's a pro and a con. It's like, okay, this amazing placement came through, but no sales, and kind of balancing that to keep the excitement, because those placements are exciting. But when the like main goal is revenue, sometimes it's difficult to balance that.
Totally. Yeah, and on the brand side as well, I think, unless you have just started up, at the time that you're starting to work with, two wonderful people like Hannah and Chris, I think you're really feeling like, okay, I've been putting in the hours, I've been building this business. Now I'm ready for some recognition. But that is also the exact point in time when you don't really have anything new to talk about, because you need to get bigger to do something new. And so I think one of the benefits on the brand side of working with the two of them, but also part of that kind of on-ramp that happens at the very beginning is really figuring out, how do you craft new stories out of what you've been doing for a couple of years? How do you get a fresh perspective on it? How do you talk about products in a different way so that it feels new and exciting, rather than kind of the same old talk track?
Yeah. And I mean, on that note, you kind of do the same thing, right? With vetting brands, because Wearwell you have it's a sustainable clothing marketplace, but then you also feature other brands within that. So how do you go about vetting those brands, and have there ever been challenges when it comes to that?
Yeah. So for us, it's a little bit more than a gut feeling, but not too dissimilar, in the sense that when we started Wearwell, Emily, my co-founder, and I started it out of a frustration at how difficult it was to shop for sustainable and ethically made clothing as a consumer. And we also were realizing, hey, it's these really small independent brands that are really walking the talk when it comes to ethics and sustainability. So how can we build a platform that makes it easier for consumers to discover that and supports the growth of those emerging brands? And so how that naturally evolved into a vetting process was doing some things that I won't get into, like applying our master's degrees and our couple decades of experience in international development to sourcing product. But it really, that influenced the conversations we were having with brand founders and these small brands that maybe had a team of 2 to 15 people. And we could really get a sense of, where are you producing? What are you paying your makers? Where are your products coming from? Do you have subcontractors? No? Great. Your supply chain is fully transparent. We can understand that. And creating a vetting process that, again, was focused on supporting those emerging brands.
Awesome. Well, Hannah, you work with Erin and the Wearwell company, right? You represent them, or is Chris, are they under you?
Kind of funny story. So Hannah had been working with Wearwell for a year? Is that right,
Yeah.
Erin?
Yeah, we've had the pleasure of working with both of them.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes this question even easier then. Do you just want to talk, so for someone who maybe isn't so familiar with like what a PR brand does for a fashion company, especially a huge platform like Wearwell, do you want to talk about maybe one of the big projects you worked on together, or maybe like the first project that you worked on?
I think one of the more interesting facets of our work together is the different stages that we've gone through. So to start out, we started with affiliates, saw very quickly a lot of progress working with Hannah, very specifically in paid placements along with affiliate. That for us gave us enough traction to then be able to start going after greater visibility, and that's often where Chris came in, was picking up all of that traction that Hannah built with us around placements with influencers, some paid placements in articles, to then start getting our product included in roundups with Travel and Leisure, with Real Simple, etc. Chris, you can probably rattle these off much better than I can. But I think, the steps for us were really building on one another, but it did take that very, very initial phase of working on kind of lower level visibility, if we'll call it that, not to diminish their value to us, but the ones that were in reach for a smaller brand, and to really kind of build up as we went along to the more recognizable media outlets.
All makes sense.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I also feel like I kind of have like an illness for my brain wants to reach for the depths of like any possible topic that could potentially be a fit. So I think that when Wearwell came to work with me, I was a fresh brain, which is always so nice to have on a project. Yes. Is like I hadn't been in the trenches or had seen necessarily what else was being pitched out. So I was able to come in with my brain, and some of it hit and it was fabulous and some of it did not, right? And that's where like kind of back to your first question of like challenges, that can sometimes be extremely frustrating, especially when you think that, you love your brands and you are like gung-ho and you want to scream their name from the rooftop, and you write a pitch that you think you're like, oh my God, this is like the best pitch ever, and then it goes out and like no one loves it as much as you. And so then you have to go back to the drawing board and you just have to like try again and try not to take things personally, which can sometimes be really hard, especially when you're so emotionally and financially, all the things, you're invested in it. And especially, like in Erin, like Hannah and I were working on a project with Wearwell, and we were in the waiting for weeks and weeks, and then they had to reschedule, like the outlet had to reschedule, and then we were still in the waiting. And it's like you try to be really positive and sometimes also be like, yikes, on the back end, like we really hope that this goes through because it would be so great. And it did go through and we had a celebration, it was fabulous. But in that like waiting period, which does seem like a lot of on the PR side and probably on the brand side, right, it's like, have you heard back yet? No, we have not. Like, we'll let you know. So it's like, it's like this give and take. And I would say that that's definitely a struggle sometimes.
And something just to add to all of that, I think it perfectly highlights the attitude that you have to have towards PR, that it can't always be transactional. Those types of PR agencies or people like Chris and Hannah, they really have to be a part of your team, and you have to treat them like they're part of your team. You're not necessarily simply looking at, okay, I'm paying you for the service, where's the outcome? You have to work with them through that process, and it is truly a partnership.
Absolutely. And I think I have so many feelings about all of that because I can relate, especially now, like being like this, like Dinner for Shoes podcast is so new to me, and it's not my main job at all. It's like a little mini project, right? And it always feels personal when you put something out there and you think it's great, and then like no one cares and no one gives you like reciprocates and gives you any feedback, whatever. And then I'm also on the receiving end of like all those PR pitches as an editor, and I do know that it's not a personal thing sometimes because I know how many I field a day. And sometimes it's just like I had back-to-back meetings and I didn't have time to read my email that day. Like, so I understand like all the frustrations around it. But I guess like to summarize all of this, Erin, you referenced like the attitude that you need to have when you think about fashion and PR and like getting your brand out there. I mean, what would you say to someone who kind of wants to be in the fashion PR space? What kind of attitude do they need to have? Like, what are some tips that you can give them to, you know, go into that job and not take everything so personally?
Oh my gosh, some tips and tricks, some hot takes. You know, I do feel like it's like a characteristic thing. Like once you start, at least this is what I've seen or, you know, talked about with other people in the field. It's like you either love this, right? And like you can fight through all of those days that we just talked about, or it becomes like stale and then you hate it. And then writing a pitch becomes hard. And I honestly, I'm like, you guys, I'm like a universe believer and I believe in energy. And I'm like, if I'm in a bad mood, trying to watch my language, and I send out that pitch, I feel like someone on the other end is going to feel that. Like they're going to feel I'm not into it. They're going to feel like it's meh. And so I'm like, I don't know if this is giving really a hot tip, but I truly feel like it was all of my experience with all of the different agencies. Like I was able to absorb different people's personalities, how people worked through it. And I was just able to kind of like develop, okay, actually this feels really good to me. And all of that doesn't. So at Media Muse, you know, we don't do certain things, or maybe we are like, at least for me, I feel like the education piece behind us working as a partnership with a brand is so important, and to be so transparent. Like I've had calls with the client before where I'm like, I don't think that I'm the best fit for you. Like I feel like my energy is different than yours. Maybe I don't say that exact same thing, but to me, if you're wanting to get into this energy, if you're wanting to get into this field, you're gonna like, it really is kind of like this test it and explore, because everyone's so different. Anytime that I got off of a phone call or get off a phone call with Erin and Emily, like I feel good, I feel happy, I feel energized, I know exactly what we're working on, and I have come up with new ideas. It's kind of like those friendships we talk about, right? Where like it's sunshine, like you want friends around you that are sunshine. And anymore, I'm like, I want to work with people and brands that also mirror that, where it truly is like a partnership. And so yeah, I feel like when you kind of get into it, you have to test it for yourself. And we're all different. The way Hannah manages her clients is different than the way I do. And it's like, what works for you, and do it that way, instead of listening to, you know, how you should, or this is how other agencies do it, or this is how other PR pros do it. It's like, maybe you trying the different thing is what's actually going to make you stand out. So yeah, hopefully that was a hot tip. I'm not just rambling.
Oh, for sure. And I think that, like you said, like it doesn't really matter specifically how other PR agencies do it. But the fact is, like, just the energy I'm getting from you both. Let's just say, like, I've talked to people who work for other PR agencies or who have created other PR agencies where the energy is not as welcoming and as inclusive and as honest and transparent. And like, I think for someone who wants to come into the business, maybe it's about, you know, taking those interviews and kind of like gauging the energy at all the different PR companies. Like if I were you, Erin, like I'd be so excited to work with you know, Media Muse. And I think like that just shows immediately when you go into an interview, you learn about a PR company, and it's all about the people that are there, you know? Yeah.
Totally.
I definitely want to know about just future goals, both from Media Muse and from on the Wearwell side of things too. And if there is anything where those goals are going to be like achieved together, maybe you talk about that.
I feel like it's so funny whenever Chris and I talk about goals, because most people are like, let's scale, let's double revenue, let's do all these things. And we're like, what if we continue to feel great? But I do feel like that is the vibe, like continuing to bring that same, I mean, you have two very woo-woo people on this podcast, but making sure that you don't decrease any of those boundaries that you have and those standards that you've set for your clients. And I know for me, I'm working through some things on what my retainer is and coming forward really confident with that retainer, and whatever the reaction is the reaction. I think that's kind of my next big goal. That's not like a Media Muse goal necessarily, but for me personally.
I love that.
Media Muse is like, come what may, is our like logo, I feel like, or should be, because even in the time that we started working together, like last May, it has totally transformed, literally like month to month even, and that's what's really nice about being so close, is that our main goal is to always honor what we need. So even if it's hard for me to hear that Hannah like wants to, not work with me anymore, like support me on the back end, like, of course I'm going to cheer for her because I love her and want to do what's best for her. So as far as us, like, what is the, upcoming thing for Media Muse? Totally echo Hannah, where it's like, checking in and saying like, okay, are we still feeling good? Are we still feeling energized? What's going on with you? Like, it's almost, that's always the goal anymore. I'm like, you guys, my birthday is next week. And every time I hit like my birthday, it's like retro. I don't know. I'm just always like, so what is it? Like, New Year's where people are like, resolutions. I'm like, on my birthday, I think about like, what have I done last year? And like, I'm getting older. Like, I'm 30, turning 34. And like, what is the most important things to me now compared to what they were when I was 27, or really even last year? Because we can grow so much in a year that I'm like, oh, I actually have like different goals personally, which kind of, roll over into my business a little bit, especially like with my time and having kids. And so, it's almost to just like get real with, okay, how much time do you have? What is your actual capacity? And then let's just make sure that you're living that and living like a healthy, happy life. And then it just kind of trickles over into how businesses ran.
Makes sense. Erin, you can go ahead and talk about Wearwell if you want a little.
Yeah, so on the Wearwell side, I know I mentioned a little while ago, we really got started to make it easier for consumers to shop more easily for sustainable and ethically made clothing. And so we're just continuing to focus on different ways of doing that. We've done that not just through partnering with the 50 brands that we're currently partnered with, but we also have created collections where you can shop women-owned brands, you can shop Black-owned brands, AAPI-owned brands, and really, going beyond just environmental sustainability and including in that, workers' rights as well as fair wages, and then also who owns those brands, right? And starting to generate, sales for those types of brands. And so we're always thinking about how do we take that to the next level. And so that will continue to be our future. I think when it comes to the work that we've had the opportunity to do with Media Muse, we've really gotten a ton of visibility that we would not have gotten without that partnership. And one of the main reasons we exist is not just to make it easier for sustainable shoppers to find products, but for regular shoppers who aren't always thinking about sustainability to find an alternative that's sustainably made and know that it's out there. And I think without our partnership with Media Muse, that wouldn't be as possible as it has been over the past several months and since the time in working together. So I think that's really what our future looks like.
Totally. And I will say, like, there are definitely so few platforms that have everything set up the way Wearwell does. And the models are inclusive. Like, you can shop by all these different categories and filters, right? Like, that is just very impressive. And I'm like very excited to spotlight it and continue to feature it, honestly, in all my work, because I was so excited when I saw it. And I'm really thankful to Media Muse for like bringing it onto my radar. So I think that's really cool. And I'm going to like finish with a question. It's kind of like a pop question, but the more that I've been thinking about fashion PR, like during this conversation and just because I'm doing an episode on it, I'm thinking about how, like, Chris, you were saying that there is kind of like there's always a personal tie to our jobs, right? Like we always it's hard to separate work and life, but there is also like a stereotype when it comes to PR that you are always on constantly. Like you are always there to field a call from a client, even if it's like middle of the night. How do you feel about that? And how do you set any limitations in the context of Media Muse to kind of keep that work-life balance normal?
Yeah, I had to learn that. And honestly, like my brain doesn't ever shut off. Like it is always going. And sometimes like I do have a client who enjoys calling. And honestly, like I'll answer if I have capacity and it's like totally fine. And I let it be like, I'm choosing to do this and like I want to do it. It's almost like I check in with myself, like, do I want to answer this? How am I feeling?
Yeah.
And if I even get like a, then I'm like, no, not answering it. But honestly, like, I feel like most of our clients at Media Muse, like, respect boundaries. Like, we keep it email or Slack. And like, if it's an email after one of us, you know, is off for the day, because of course we work in all time zones, then like, we know that we won't respond till the morning. And that has been amazing because years before when I was white labeling, it was kind of like whatever goes. And I remember being up until like 11 or 12, like working on spreadsheets and my husband being like, please come to bed. And I'm like, I will be there like when I'm ready. And then I'm like dying inside being like, I just want to be in bed. So yeah, it's taken years, but once you set that boundary, it's nice to be able to just hold it. And I think if you do it right up front, like it's not a question.
Yeah.
For sure.
Sorry, Hannah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like there's a reason why I chose not to be in like crisis comms. You know, that's blessings to the people who choose to do that. But also we say a lot like it's PR, not ER, because I think that
I've never heard that, but I love that.
Yeah, the energy of the whole industry is very like, it can be quite erratic. And so I always ground myself with that. It's like, this person will get their leggings as soon as I can get to that. Like the product will be placed today and everything will be okay.
Yeah. And I think what I was thinking about when you both were just talking now is just that also comes down to like the brand fitting with the PR company. It's almost like there's a PR company out there for every brand if you want to work with one, just like there's a brand out there for everyone who wants to wear clothes, right? Like, so I think you've both clearly like fine-tuned who your clients are very well, and it seems like a very happy marriage.
It is.
I hope you enjoyed that interview. Next up, we have the amazing Savannah. She's, first of all, so fucking funny. Like, if you're in a room with her, she's the kind of person that steals like everyone's attention and makes you crack up and makes you just like feel good. She's entertaining, which I think is why brands love working with her. And she's accomplished so much in the industry. Seriously, her career is incredible. But some of the brands that you might know that Savi represents are Markarian. I love Markarian. I have a soft spot in my heart for Markarian. I actually like looked at their wedding dresses. I actually have a wedding dress by Markarian, little dress that will never be worn. But anyway, I have a very special place in my heart for Markarian. I love their chic look. Chic, I said it again. But like they are feminine with this sophistication that is unmatched. They do colors really well and prints really well. If you don't, know them, definitely check them out. And they've dressed First Lady Jill Biden. So, I mean, hello. PatBO, which I was thinking about wearing a PatBO dress because I do own some PatBO pieces, but I decided against it because I spun the wheel and I got black. Crew sunglasses, they've worked with Reformation. These are all brands that they may not currently be working with. They currently do represent PatBO and Markarian though. Some other ones, Self Portrait, they've worked with in the past. They work with Ferragamo, La Perla, Pyre Moss. These are all ones that like, you would recognize if you know and love fashion. So go ahead and take a listen to my interview.
Okay, so the way I started, I actually was in human rights before I was in fashion. Although I was doing it kind of in college. I had like 3 majors, and Daddy always said that I'd be great at a cocktail party. I was that's what my education equaled. And I was like a Fulbright finalist, all this totally different life of like going into refugee work and everything. And I had one internship, and it was Michael Kors, and I was on the wrong floor at the wrong time and was going through a rack of clothes, and I got, I love the shit out of this. And Michael was behind me and started cackling. That was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. And he was like, who are you? And so then I got hired like a year later. I got hired in the recession, and it was awesome. I loved it. It was like during there were still like faxes being sent. Like it was, that also ages me a little bit. But it was a really cool transition to watch everything go digital because I watched that all happen. I remember setting up our Twitter account like in 2009, just crazy. And so it was just a fascinating time. I watched it go public. I learned so much. It's where I had like the family. And I figured out, I was horrible as an assistant. I actually lack all assistant skills, managerial, all that kind of stuff. Organization, you always hire your weaknesses, team. Hire your weaknesses.
It's very smart advice.
So I literally was Michael Kors, watched them go public. It was awesome to be there for that. I loved my Kors family. It's where I recognized that I always knew my strength was people, but it's where I figured out how to actually just be myself, and myself is the career, which is kind of great. I found a career where I didn't have to behave any way differently than I do at the bar, than I do at the mall, than I do at the nail salon, wherever the hell I am. And I get to do that, which is amazing. So then I went to Barney's. I was at Barney's, like when kind of that whole team that used to be at Gucci Group came over. So like Mark Lee came over, Danielle Vitale, Dennis Friedman came over from W. Charlotte Blackman came over from Tom Ford. It was an awesome group of people. It was really amazing. But it was crazy. My boss left to become the SVP of Dior like 3 months in. And I was like, what do I do? And I was like 25 trying to figure it all out. Thank God I had my VP, but still that was a big jump, right?
Yeah.
That was a crazy person to be directly reporting to. So I then went on, Barney's was amazing. We did Jay-Z, we did Disney, we did Gaga, I was in meetings with Baz Luhrmann. It was so cool. But it was crazy. It's insane. And you launch all these small brands, even though because they couldn't afford PR. So I would always help them out, even though I was technically doing PR for the whole company. And then Michael found out that I was applying to other places and pretty much was like, no, you're not allowed to show close to me. And they gave me an incredible offer I couldn't refuse, created a position for me. And I did VIP and events there, working with two of my best friends. And it was amazing. And I went back to Kors, round 2. Then after a few years there, I loved it. It wasn't where my brain really got to thrive. That was corporate at that point. It was like 3,500 employees. It's a massive company. And I loved my family there. But, when things go public or things become super corporate, there's processes put in place. And everything moves a little slower.
Yeah.
You're not able to be as creative. You can definitely be creative because you have budget. But you can't be as creative in the sense of like the nimble kind of creativity of like quick creativity that I like. That's different. And there's not as much, let's fuck some shit up kind of energy that there used to be. I loved it though, but corporate wasn't for me. And I always loved music. So I went over to music for a little bit. I was vice president of fashion and branding for First Access, which was like a sister agency to Warner Music. So I had access to both rosters and ran all the fashion and branding there. And then I went freelance and I started working for everybody. I was doing like bookings for W Mag. I was working with PRC. I was working with other agencies. I had a music company with Chloe Kaye, if you were big into DJ and that kind of music. She's a huge DJ. And then Alexandra Cronin was my other business partner, and she's an amazing stylist here in London. And it just was, we tried a music company where we did all the branding, everything, and built all these emerging rappers out. And we did like St. John, we did Skip the Utmost. It was a really fun time. But then I launched my best friend's brand called Markarian. She had already been my best friend for like 10 or 11 years. And I had actually shattered my leg. I do not remember starting my company. I do not remember launching her company, but I'm pretty good at it.
Oh my
thank
God.
you. I think you wrote an article. We killed it. We did great. We got it in Vogue. We got it into Wear. We got it on celebrities. Claire's like, I can't tell you how many people we run into all the time. And Savannah's like, it's so nice to meet you. And they're like, we met you 4 years ago, 6 years ago. You were very injured. And I was like, did I? I could have been the Percocet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the morphine.
100%.
And so I started a company. And then Claire was like one of my first employees. And then here we are. We did the rebrand of Diesel. We've worked with so many amazing brands. I mean, events is our thing, but everything is our thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So now you have your brand. How do you want to make your brand distinguished from other media relations companies in fashion?
I think we already are distinguished. I think we're totally different in general, the way we think. You've got to be nimble. You've got to think differently. And I never worked in an agency. I've only ever worked in a house. So I have no idea truly how to run an agency. So every single thing we do is treated as though we're in-house. Train our clients constantly. We're on text with our clients. I'm in production meetings. I'm in design meetings. We're reorganizing their operations, finding them a new warehouse. So we're not really PR. We build a community, and every decision we do should build a community, right? We've done brands, and I've been like, here's your atelier. Here's your head design team. We have built the brand from scratch. And then we are set up, okay, let's do the branding here. Okay, let's bring it on. And I'll link up with 2 branding companies I work with all the time. And what's really cool is, like, even though we're small, we're quite mighty. And, there's this great camaraderie that's happening right now with all these smaller PR agencies. We're all kind of brother, sister agencies, like Sandrine, Nate's, Gabby's, and Sarah Byworth, and probably forgetting some of my friends, but Tanique. It's been a great group of people. We're all very, like, help each other out all the time. One thing that we're really good about is taking brands across America, because I know too many damn people and know people in almost every state. Literally. I have no idea how, but I do. And we can lean into all those people, right?
Yeah.
And figure out all those regions and find partnerships, which comes into my next, which is partnerships and collaborations. I think at a certain point, collaborations are the only thing that really get press anymore, especially if you're not really talking about financial anything. But you know what they are? They're a different form of revenue. And if not that, then they are a different form. And if not stronger, because I think social press is equal to traditional.
Yeah.
You go into the gifting campaigns, you go into everything else. Social press, if not more. Every single thing you should do should be building a community and try to have an ROI. To the next one. Like, a partnership could be as simple. We did this awesome event with Chow Lucia and Susan Alexander on Orchard Street. Cute Susan, and Lucy's the best. And, like, Chow's our client. And I guess Susan kind of is too. Chow is like one of those situations where it's like, we don't have a store. We don't have brick and mortar. So how do we pop up? I was like, why do we need to sit by ourselves? We should have a partnership. The whole point of this is to gain new eyes, new people, and combine and, like, merge and access their mailer list and our mailer list, and we do it together, right? So if that's the case, let's just do it cheaply. So we probably spent nothing, not that much. We used Cooper, who's at the time was my assistant, now coordinator's beer pong table. We put a literal beautiful linen, thank you. At least we have some beautiful linens. And then we got sponsorship. We started serving ranch water on the street we didn't even have a permit, but it was great. Scars donated pizza. Regina's Grocery donated a 6-foot sub. It was really fun. And everybody came out and, like, did we make $100,000? No, of course not.
Right.
But did we get insane amounts of eyes and sales and a different way of talking about everything with the branding everywhere? Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's a form of partnership, right? Where you can either do competitors or not. It can be a charity. It can be anything. Somehow activating together and, like, using each other's community to build.
So what advice would you have to someone breaking into this industry?
Intern. We have this thing called an apprentice program. We don't have, right? Like, but I'm trying to get to the point where I can put people into these different positions, right? So, like, sure, I cannot afford at this time to hire 2 more assistants. I can't. So what I do is I have set up this apprentice program where it's a bit full-time, part-time, depends on how you do it. And the apprentice program, if you work for us for 6 months, and this is a terrible way to say it, but you survive us or you impress me enough, I will place you in a job no matter what. No matter what, I will place you in a job. And a job in New York, or if you want to go to LA, or you want to go somewhere else, I will place it to you.
I love that.
One of my girls is, fingers crossed, about to get hired somewhere that's going to be great for her. The others I've placed from lead to Valentino to everywhere. And guys, we just haven't had a guy apprentice yet. Fly. One thing I do is, like, look, my team, we work a little differently. I teach them to work a little differently. Our job is not a 9-to-5 job. It will never be. And the way our company works, it's never going to be a 9-to-5. It's hustle, hustle, hustle. We are constantly going. Sometimes we work in nightlife too. So sometimes we're working till 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning. And so our industry is a little different, right?
Yeah.
Like we are client services.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, I turn my phone off at the end. No.
Right.
I can call you 4 in the morning if they want to. We work differently. One problem I see with a lot of the next generation, it's just like a misperception of like how it works in New York City and how the fashion industry works. Fashion and PR is the most thankless job you will ever have. No one will ever tell you thank you. You are behind the scenes and you are there to make things function. That's why we wear black.
Mm-hmm.
So we blend in and nobody can see us, right? We are essentially second-class citizens in a sense. And that's how it's supposed to be. And if you think that it's different, you'll never get ahead in this world because there's rules still in fashion of like, you start at the bottom
Mm-hmm.
and you go to the next level. You go to the next level. Then you go to the next level. And well, look, I was in the old world of fashion. It's changed a lot. There's no blackberries getting thrown at me anymore.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting. But I think it's a different type of work ethic.
Yeah.
I think in general, it's aggressive and then it's a hustle. Some people have it, some people don't. New York, especially, can break you and harden you a little bit.
I agree. Yeah, but you are very good at, helping people. That's like what you pride yourself on really is like, training the people who you work with to be better. And I think that is what makes like your brand unique. Like
we care a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're a small company. We're a startup in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we're like in the competitive world of all these big agencies and some of those clients want to come to us, some don't, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And we do it for events all the time. We do events all the time for these bigger companies. But like, I think that that's a force to be reckoned with, but I think it's the way you view your job.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately in PR specifically, your life and your work life, personal and work life are one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
Not be good at your job if the people that you work with and all the brand and all the editors and everybody else are not your friends.
Yeah.
You cannot separate your life. You have to be in the scene. You have to do everything. You're at the balls, you're at the galas, you're at the fashion weeks, you're at the parties. Your life is molded.
Yeah.
There is no work-life balance. And I fully believe in that because you will not be good at your job if you try to have a completely separate life.
100%. Yeah. Well, give yourself some credit. Do you have any like accomplishments? I mean, obviously you've helped start Markarian, huge brand. You work with PatBO. Are there any accomplishments that you want to, tout your own brand?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. We dressed the first lady for the inauguration, although it was a really big deal. We won the 2024 Agency of the Year for Society and Culture, which is quite amazing for pre-op. And then we were listed on this as one of the top 5 fashion and hospitality, I think, PR firms in America by the Observer, which was awesome because every single other PR company on there has like 80 to 100 and more employees. And we're like, we have 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's made it feel like, oh, it's working.
Huge.
What we're thinking is working.
Aside from your injury, because that was obviously sucky, you made it through, you kept working through it, but were there any other challenging parts of your career that you remember as specifically challenging?
Yeah, starting a business, it fucking sucks. I had no idea how it works. I am bad at finances. You never feel, well, you're starting out in PR, you cannot charge. You can't go in and be like, I want $15K a month.
Yeah.
Fuck that. You have literally, like, you've got to prove yourself. Mm-hmm. So it sucks. Poverty. And then finally it works. It is like scraping the barrel sometimes. And it is working overdrive and saying yes to a lot of things you don't really want to say yes to.
Yeah.
But you have to because that's how you survive in New York. And that's how I had to pay my team.
Yeah.
I did not want to lay my girls off, especially during COVID, and I didn't. And I figured out a way, and we lost 85% of our business in one day. And I figured out a way to keep my clients functioning and figured out a way to keep my girls on. That sucked.
Mm-hmm.
That sucked. And, the first few years, look, they were fun and they were incredible, but they sucked.
Yeah.
It's stressful. Oh my God, it's so stressful. Money is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Running a company is so hard. So challenges, yeah, waking up.
Yeah.
Not to sleep at night, babe.
For sure.
Without like waking up in a nightmare panic of like, like I can't tell you how many times I've like, it's, things are bad when I say the word shudder. And I'm like, girls, we're gonna have to shut her. They're like, we don't have to shut her. Stop. Shudder is a key word. It's a trigger word.
Okay. Well, all right, let's end on a good note. So what are you excited for the brand to come this year, within the next couple of years? Like, what's next?
I have no idea. Do you know that I sit there all the time with the girls and I'm like, it's working out. You know what I mean? It's like happening so organically and naturally that we like sit there and pinch ourselves. And then when we get stressed, we've resorted to intention candles. I'm not woo-woo, but we're doing it. And oh yeah, we have like a money candle. It's hilarious.
Hey, whatever works.
But I have no idea. I actually did a TikTok about this. But we I didn't plan this out. I didn't have a business plan. I've been rolling with the punches, going with the gut the whole time, and just sticking to my guns and knowing I'm good at it and keep going. And my team is amazing. Could not do anything without my team. The girls are incredible.
Mm-hmm.
We need a boy on the team eventually. If anybody wants to apply, not yet though. Not yet because there's no open positions, but soon there will be. So, but I love my team, and it just keeps getting better. And sure, you have some bumps in the road. Like, I'll be honest, this March and April were not fun, but it's already coming over the hill. You know what I mean? It's getting better. Like, it's all working out. It always works out. And one of the biggest things is, like, if you're nice to people, they'll be nice back. And I can't tell you how much free PR advice I get consistently. And I need to figure out a way to charge for that. But for me, I figure it'll all come back to me, right? Like, that's the thing. We work out. My girls are nice. We work really hard. We pride ourselves in our work. So honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen this year, which is awesome about life, right? Like, it could be complete shit. And then the next day, everything becomes like sunshine and roses.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think what the phrase is. Right? Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I should.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you really did. You just gave so many free PR tips, fashion PR tips in this like one episode. So
we did it during COVID too. We actually gave 30 minutes of like, let's see, how can we help you keep your business alive? Here's what you should do on your own. Here's how we can help you.
Yeah.
We did that for free all throughout COVID. Had like 20 calls a day with people. It was crazy.
That's incredible.
Brain dead of the night. But it's great. I mean, I need to get better at like learning how to make money. But we have a lot of fun. I probably shouldn't admit that. I'm really bad at making money. I'm really good at my job. My girls are really good at my job. But we it's hard, because we build brands. So it's a lot to ask a small brand, pay us $30K. That's an insane amount of money for them.
Of course.
It's got to very much be, that could be their sales for a year when they're just starting out, right? Like, which is insane, but that's the sales for a year, but sometimes it's like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to that interview. I hope you learned a lot about fashion PR. I hope you learned that cats love it when lights like go all over the room and they just like, it makes them so excited and they jump and I hope you learned that Nick makes me great cocktails that taste like NYC quality. And yeah, I hope you learned that being in fashion PR is hard, but it's also enjoyable if you are the kind of person who likes a challenge, and I fucking don't. So I'll just be here sitting with my cocktail. I never even put my shoes back on. A fashion PR person would always remember to put their shoes back on. Always. I'll leave you with that. Like, subscribe. Thank you for watching Dinner for Shoes. We'll be back next week with another episode.